Welcome to lecture for Chapter 7. We will be covering the first 4 sections for Chapter 7, and here they are listed. First, let's discuss what is a chemical reaction. A chemical reaction is a reaction that converts what we call reactants into products. We have some chemical compounds that we mix, we call those reactants, and they rearrange to give us products, different compounds. Reactants and products are different compounds. Reactants appear on the left side of a chemical reaction. We have an arrow which tells us that the reactants are being converted into products which appear on the right hand side of a chemical reaction. There are several ways that we can tell that a reaction actually has taken place. Sometimes it is easy to see because we have telltale signs, as I said, such as we can observe a change of color. It could be the reactants themselves they might be clear, but then when you mix them and they react, it can change color, so we can see that change in color, and we know that something has happened, obviously. A chemical reaction might be as, accompanied by light, and we know that before the reaction happened there wasn't anything, but then once we put the reactants together, the two compounds together, they start to produce light. We know that something is happening, and therefore a chemical reaction is happening. The next sign, we can observe the formation of a solid. Once again, as separate compounds, the reactants aren't doing anything, but when we put them together, we can see something happening. It could be a colored solid, like it is here, for example, or it could be a clear solid, but what we see is we go from a clear solution to an opaque, cloudy solution, or little specks of white, etc., etc. So we know that something has happened because we see that little bits of solid are now floating around in our clear solution. We can also observe the formation or release of a gas. Here it is depicted with some Alka-Seltzer tablets, and we all have seen that when we put Alka-Seltzer tablets in water, for example, we'll see these bubbles start to fizz, and we know that something is going on, some chemical reaction is happening because we see the release of gas. And typically the two most common gases that get evolved or given off during a chemical reaction is carbon dioxide, CO2 gas, or hydrogen gas, H2. And we can see those in bubble formation. We can also tell that a chemical reaction is happening if we have the release or absorption of heat. If there is a release of heat, the vessel that contains the reaction will feel hot to the touch. And we call that reaction that releases heat, we call that an exothermic reaction. Exo meaning out, so it's releasing heat. If it absorbs heat, it will feel cool to the touch. And that reaction that absorbs heat is called an endothermic reaction. Releasing heat, giving off heat, feeling hotter to the touch, it is called exothermic. If it absorbs heat and feels cold to the touch, it's called endothermic reaction. These are some of the signs that we can use to actually figure out if there is a chemical reaction occurring. These visual clues or touch that will let us know that there's a reaction occurring. Now we will stop here for part 1 and we will continue with writing chemical equations.